Saitama vs. Dragon Ball, one of the most controversial discussions in the entire anime community. And I'm going to tell you something, this comparison is totally unfair, but maybe not for the reason you are thinking. Let us start with the basics. On one side, we have Saitama, a guy who literally broke his limiters and became so strong that no opponent offers him a challenge. On the other side, we have the Dragon Ball universe, where characters spend decades training, dying, being resurrected, and multiplying their powers by absurd numbers. The problem with this comparison is that the two works operate with completely different purposes. One Punch Man is a satire of the shonen genre. Saitama exists to mock that concept of the protagonist who always surpasses his limits. He already reached the top before the story even began. Dragon Ball is the exact opposite. It is the journey of constant growth, where each arc brings a stronger villain and Goku needs to evolve to keep up. But even so, we love to compare the two. And if we are going to do this honestly, we need to look at the real feats of each character. Let us start with the Saitama from the beginning of the series. In the fight against Boros, who was considered the strongest being in the One Punch Man universe up to that point, the manga itself makes clear that Boros' final attack could destroy the surface of planet Earth. Saitama responds with a single serious punch and not only defeats Boros, but dissipates every cloud in the Earth's atmosphere with the impact. That sounds impressive, right? And it is. But in Dragon Ball, that level of power was already surpassed at the very beginning. Master Roshi destroyed the entire moon with a Kamehameha when Goku was still a child, and his power level at that time was only 139 units. To give you a sense of scale, Vegeta, when he arrived on Earth, had over 18,000, and power evolution is not a simple sum, but an exponential multiplication. There is an official Dragon Ball guide called the Legendary Manga that states it would take 10,000 power level to destroy a planet. That referred to large planets. Earth itself in Dragon Ball is described as a small planet with not much value. That is exactly why Bardock sent Goku there, because he knew Frieza would not care about such an insignificant planet. So when we talk about planetary level, we need to understand that this is very broad. Jupiter, for example, could fit more than 13 Earths inside it. Destroying Earth would be a much lesser feat than destroying a real planet by Dragon Ball standards. King Piccolo himself, back in the classic series, with only 260 power level, said he could destroy 43 islands on Earth in the blink of an eye. If he truly concentrated, he might have destroyed a good part of the entire planet, and that was just the beginning of the story. Now let us talk about speed. In the fight against Boros, Saitama is launched all the way to the moon and returned to Earth in a few seconds. The moon is 384,000 kilometers from Earth. If it took him about 3 seconds to return, his speed would be something around 38% of the speed of light. Impressive, but that is roughly the speed of Piccolo's attack that also destroyed the moon. Shortly after, Piccolo was already performing attacks infinitely stronger than that, like the special beam cannon, which a simple character like Raditz dodged, a technique even described as a light cannon. By the calculations, being an attack of 1,300 power level, it certainly exceeds the speed of light. After all, an infinitely weaker attack just a short time before destroyed the moon practically instantaneously. On top of that, in classic Dragon Ball, Goku himself was already dodging real lasers. So if we compare the Saitama from the beginning of One Punch Man with Dragon Ball, he would already have difficulties in the Saiyan Saga. But the story does not end there. Now things are going to get really interesting because Saitama does not stay frozen in time. In the Cosmic Garou arc, the One Punch Man manga elevates the bald man's power to a completely different level. Garou receives power from a divine entity and transforms into what he calls Cosmic Fear mode. He gains control over cosmic energy, can manipulate radiation, gravity, and even space-time. He becomes so absurdly strong that he manages to copy Saitama's movements and fight on equal footing for a while. And that is where we see Saitama's true power, because even with Garou copying his abilities, Saitama simply keeps evolving during the fight. Every second that passes, he gets stronger. Garou copies his power from one moment, but in the next moment, Saitama is already at a higher level. In that battle, the two start destroying stars in the background. The impact of the punches is so absurd that the number one hero, Blast, needs to teleport the two of them away from Earth to avoid destroying the planet. The fight escalates to hyperspace, a dimension beyond our conventional third dimension, and that is where an important concept comes in. The One Punch Man manga works with the idea of higher dimensions. Garou and Saitama can interact with four-dimensional portals, something that goes beyond our normal understanding of space. Saitama dodges these portals at a speed that, depending on the calculation, ranges from thousands to billions of times faster than the speed of light. Yes, there is an absurd leap, but the most absurd moment is the Zero Punch. When Saitama is pushed to the maximum, he unleashes a punch that literally goes back in time. Saitama observes Garou performing temporal manipulation a single time and replicates it through pure instinct. He goes back in time, defeats Garou before the tragedy happens, and even merges with his past version, keeping the memories and possibly the power he accumulated. This places Saitama at an immeasurable speed level. It is not just being fast, it is transcending the very concept of time. So how does this compare to Dragon Ball? Let us go by feats. In the Frieza Saga, it was said he could destroy the universe, but when we analyze it deeply, it seemed like the author had not developed developed the power scale well at that time. Frieza destroyed planet Namek, creating an explosion capable of wiping out the solar system. Cell later claimed he could do the same, but it is in the Majin Buu saga where things escalate. Buhan, which is Majin Buu with Gohan absorbed, threatens not just to destroy the universe, but universes in the plural. He speaks of destroying alternate dimensions and timelines, and most importantly, Vegito tells him to use that attack on him. This shows that Vegito would not only survive, but could do something similar. So in terms of pure destruction, current Saitama is at a level that ranges from multiple solar systems to universal. And regarding speed in Dragon Ball Super, Goku can react to, or even predict hits attacks, who literally stops time. It is not just moving fast, it is anticipating a temporal manipulation before it happens. If Saitama used the Zero Punch against someone like Goku at his peak, there is the possibility that Goku would foresee it and react before the punch is even thrown. But here is where the factor that makes this comparison truly unfair comes in. Saitama has a passive ability that no Dragon Ball character possesses. He evolves infinitely during combat. It does not matter how strong the opponent is, Saitama keeps adapting and getting stronger every second. It is as if he had a hack built into his very being. While Goku needs to train, die, learn new techniques, and transform, Saitama simply breaks his limits instantly when pressured. So who would win? It depends on how the fight plays out. Now let us go to the final verdict, and I am going to be completely honest with you, because this discussion deserves a serious analysis. If we take the current Goku from Dragon Ball Super, for example, with Master Ultra Instinct, we are talking about a character who fights at levels that transcend common logic. In the battle against Beerus, back at the start of Super, just the clash of their fists threatened to destroy the entire universe. And keep in mind, that was only Super Saiyan God, a form that Goku has already surpassed multiple times since then. After that, Goku absorbed divine power into his base form. This means that base form Goku in Dragon Ball Super already carries a power level absurdly superior to anything that came before. When he transforms into Super Saiyan, he multiplies that power by 50. Super Saiyan 2 multiplies by 100, Super Saiyan 3 by 400, and all of that before entering the divine forms, like Blue and Ultra Instinct. At the Tournament of Power, Goku faces Jiren, a guy who was above the level of a god of destruction. The combat between the two caused the space-time of the arena to collapse. The gods of destruction themselves stood up in shock at the sight. Even Zeno, who erases entire universes by snapping his fingers, sat there watching in silence, impressed. And Goku did not stop there. He faced Moro, a villain who absorbs planetary energy. Then came Granola, who used a wish to become the strongest in the universe. And more recently, Gas, who distorts space-time through sheer emotional intensity. In each of those fights, Goku evolved further. Goku's speed at this level is calculated by fans as being quadrillions of times faster than the speed of light. Gas, for example, can cross the entire universe in 20 minutes, and Goku was fighting on equal footing with him as just a Super Saiyan Blue. As unbelievable as it sounds, this places Goku far above any feat Saitama has demonstrated so far. But what about special abilities? Goku has instant transmission, can sense the ki of any being in the universe, can hide his presence completely, and with Ultra Instinct he reacts without needing to think. His body simply moves on its own, dodging attacks before his mind can even process what is happening. It is basically the most refined combat technique that exists. Saitama, on the other hand, does not have elaborate techniques. He has punches, normal punches, serious punches, consecutive punches, and his strength is absurd. But in terms of ability arsenal, Goku is more versatile. So looking coldly at the feats, the raw power, the speed, and the abilities, the current Goku from Dragon Ball Super is stronger than the current Saitama from the One Punch Man manga. This is a fact based on what the two works have shown so far. But here is where the comparison becomes truly unfair. Saitama was not made to lose. That is the very essence of the character. He is a satire, a parody of the shonen genre. The very name of the work is One Punch Man, the man who defeats anyone with one punch. The entire premise is that he beats anyone with a single punch. When that does not happen, like in the fight against Garou, he simply evolves until he can. That infinite evolution hack I mentioned earlier is what makes Saitama technically unbeatable. It does not matter how strong the opponent is. Saitama will adapt, will get stronger, will break his limits, and will keep doing it until he wins. Garou copied Saitama's power and still could not keep up, because while Garou was copying the power from a specific moment, Saitama was already at a higher level the very next moment. It is an infinite escalation that simply has no ceiling. So if Goku and Saitama fought, we would have two possible scenarios. In the first scenario, Goku uses all of his power from the start and tries to finish the fight quickly. With Ultra Instinct at maximum and maybe even a Kamehameha with everything he has, there is a chance Goku could defeat Saitama before he has time to adapt. It would be a victory by technical knockout, taking advantage of the initial superiority. In the second scenario, the fight drags on. Goku does what he always does, lets the opponent show all of their power, tests their abilities, takes the opportunity to evolve during combat. But this time, the opponent also evolves, and evolves faster. In that case, Saitama would keep scaling his power until he surpasses Goku. It could take minutes, hours, or days, but eventually Saitama would reach and surpass any level Goku achieves. And that is exactly what makes this comparison so unfair, because it is not a fight between two characters with defined powers. Of course, Goku can also evolve his power as the fight goes on, so it is a fight between a character who follows power rules, even if absurd, versus a character who exists precisely to break the rules. If it were written by the author of One Punch Man, Saitama would win, because that is the premise of his work. If it were written by Akira Toriyama or Toyotaro, Goku would probably win, or we would have a technical draw. And the same logic applies to every character who already surpasses Saitama, meaning anyone at Goku's level and above. At the end of the day, who decides is always the script, and that is the truth many people do not want to accept. These comparisons between different universes are fun. They generate discussion, they make us analyze the works we love in different ways, but they will never have a definitive answer, because the rules of the two worlds are fundamentally incompatible. What I can say with certainty is the following. Based on the feats demonstrated so far, Goku is stronger in raw power, faster, and more skilled. Saitama has the potential to surpass anything if he has time to adapt. Both are icons of their respective genres, and both deserve respect.